It began quietly, almost too quietly for anyone to notice. No grand announcement, no flashy photo shoot, no social media hints. Just a few blurry photos circulating online, two familiar faces sitting across from each other at a small cafe in Bangkok. But for fans who have followed their journey, that was all it took to set the internet ablaze. Freen and Becky, together again. For months, the two names had been spoken in past tense. Once known as the unstoppable duo that captured hearts across Asia, their split had left fans heartbroken. Rumors swirled, theories flew, and every post they made separately was dissected by millions. Some said they drifted apart because of fame, others whispered about creative differences. But through it all, one truth remained: their bond had been something special, something fans couldn't let go of. So when those photos emerged, showing Freen and Becky smiling faintly, sitting side by side after months of silence, the fandom erupted. Were they back together? Was this closure, reconciliation, or a quiet new beginning? No one knew for sure. But the moment was enough to reignite hope among millions who had never stopped believing in them. To understand why this reunion means so much, we have to go back to where it all started. Freen and Becky weren't just co-stars, they were soul partners in a story that transcended the screen. From their first project together, their chemistry was undeniable. It wasn't just acting. It was connection, trust, and a rare kind of emotional honesty that could be felt even through a camera lens. Their rise to fame was meteoric. Interviews, fan meets, brand deals, they became a symbol of modern love and authenticity in an industry that often felt too polished, too controlled. People adored them not just for their roles but for the genuine affection and respect they had for each other. But as fame grew, so did the pressure. Every move, every glance, every post was scrutinized. When they appeared slightly distant at a public event one evening, the internet exploded with questions. Was something wrong? Were they fighting? Within days, headlines claimed their relationship had soured. Then came the emotional split, an announcement that wasn't really an announcement. No words were spoken, but the distance became clear. Freen began focusing on solo projects, while Becky seemed to retreat into silence. Fans watched in disbelief as their once inseparable duo faded into separate paths. Months passed. Freen threw herself into new work, her performances becoming more introspective, deeper, as if she was channeling emotion she couldn't express publicly. Becky, on the other hand, took a break from the spotlight. Some said she needed space. Others said she was healing. But no matter where they were, their absence from each other's lives was felt deeply by everyone who had followed their journey. That's why their quiet reunion hit differently. There was no drama, no staged smiles, just a raw, human moment. Witnesses described the meeting as warm, calm, and filled with understanding. Freen was seen listening intently, her expression soft and vulnerable. Becky, often reserved, was smiling, not the bright, camera-ready smile fans were used to, but a small, genuine one. Sources close to both stars revealed that this wasn't a random encounter. It had been planned for weeks. After months of no contact, they had decided it was time to talk, really talk. To clear the air, to heal, and perhaps to rediscover the bond that had once meant so much. Insiders say the conversation lasted hours. No cameras, no managers, just two people facing what they had been avoiding. One source described it as emotional, filled with tears, laughter, and long pauses. It wasn't about the past anymore, the source said. It was about understanding, forgiveness, and the possibility of something new. After that meeting, both Freen and Becky were seen leaving separately but smiling. For fans, that was enough. Social media exploded with messages of hope. Hashtags about their reunion trended globally within hours. Some fans posted messages like "Some bonds never break," while others simply wrote, "They found their way back." But as always, not everyone was convinced. Some critics called it a publicity move, a way to reignite attention before their next projects. Others accused the agencies of orchestrating the moment for the cameras. But those who have followed their story closely know, some things can't be faked. In the days that followed, both stars made subtle moves online. Becky reposted an old photo, one taken during their early days of working together, with a single caption, "Some chapters don't close." A few hours later, Freen liked the post. That one small action reignited the fire all over again. Fans called it confirmation. The media called it mystery. But to those who understood their connection, it was everything. Behind the scenes, people close to them confirmed they've started communicating regularly again. No official label, no statement, just two people trying to rebuild what fame and time once pulled apart. Freen, in a recent interview, mentioned how important forgiveness is in life. Becky, in her own subtle way, spoke about growth and learning to value real connections over public perception. It's not about whether they're back together or not. It's about two people brave enough to face what once broke them. Their reunion reminds everyone that love, in any form, doesn't always end with a goodbye. Sometimes it simply takes a pause, a breath, and a bit of courage to begin again. And maybe that's what this story is really about. Not a headline, not a scandal, but healing. Two souls reconnecting after a storm, not to relive the past, but to honor what it meant. So whether this is a rekindled romance or a friendship reborn, one thing is clear: the bond between Freen and Becky has never truly faded. It might have been silent for a while, but it never disappeared. And now, in this quiet, tender comeback, they reminded the world that real connections always find their way back home. Because sometimes the reunion no one saw coming is the one that changes everything. Weeks after their quiet meeting, the world was still buzzing with whispers. Fans analyzed every detail: the cafe location, their body language, even the way Becky's hand seemed to linger near Freen's coffee cup. Everyone wanted answers, but neither of them spoke. Their silence only made the story louder. But behind that silence, something was changing. People close to both stars began to notice subtle shifts, small things, almost invisible to the public eye. Freen seemed lighter, more at peace, while Becky appeared more open, more grounded. Whatever had been said during that reunion had clearly brought them both some kind of closure, or perhaps a new beginning. In late summer, Freen posted a photo on her social media, a quiet image of a rainy window with the words, "Sometimes the best conversations happen in silence." It didn't take long for fans to connect the dots. Becky, a few hours later, posted a similar image, different angle, same kind of rain. Coincidence? Maybe, but their followers didn't think so. Soon after, the two were spotted again, this time at a private art exhibition in Bangkok. No cameras, no flashy red carpet. Just two people walking side by side, speaking softly, sharing smiles that said more than words ever could. Those who saw them described a warmth, a familiarity that had clearly never left. A fan captured a short clip, just a few seconds of Freen laughing softly as Becky handed her a drink. The video went viral within hours. The comments were overwhelming. They look so happy again. After everything, they still have that spark. This isn't PR, this is real. As the public excitement grew, so did the questions. Were they back together officially? Was this the start of a new project or a personal reunion? Still, both remained quiet, choosing not to feed the speculation. And that, in itself, spoke volumes. Their management teams, usually quick to respond, also stayed silent. No denials, no confirmations. It was as if everyone around them understood that this was something fragile, something that didn't need to be labeled or explained. But behind closed doors, their bond was quietly mending. They began meeting more often, not for work, but for peace. Freen was said to visit Becky's favorite cafe every Sunday morning, and more than once, witnesses saw Becky join her there. Their conversations were long and gentle, often filled with laughter that fans hadn't heard in a long time. One mutual friend revealed that they'd started talking about collaborating again, not for fame, not for the media, but because it felt right. They're not rushing anything, the friend shared. It's not about going back to what they were. It's about building something new, something honest. But with every quiet meeting came the noise of the outside world. Some fans couldn't contain their excitement, while others feared that renewed attention might ruin the delicate peace they'd found. Hashtags trended again, this time not demanding answers, but showing support. The tone had shifted from curiosity to care. People weren't asking for explanations anymore. They were simply happy to see two people healing. Then, weeks later, during a charity event, it happened. Freen and Becky appeared in the same frame again. It wasn't planned. Freen had been invited to support the event, and Becky showed up unexpectedly as a guest. When their paths crossed, cameras clicked instantly. But instead of avoiding each other, they smiled. Becky walked up to Freen and gave her a brief hug. Warm, genuine, natural. The crowd cheered, photographers went wild, and for the first time in months, both of them looked completely at ease. That single moment became the headline everywhere. Freen and Becky reunite publicly for the first time. No words needed. After the event, Freen spoke softly to a journalist who asked how it felt to see Becky again. Her answer was simple: some people stay in your life, no matter how much time passes. Becky, when asked a similar question days later, said, real connections don't fade. They just find new ways to exist. Those two statements were all fans needed. To them, it was confirmation that what they shared, whether it was friendship, love, or something in between, was still alive. But behind those gentle smiles were people who had grown. They weren't the same Freen and Becky who once faced the storm of fame hand in hand. They were stronger now, wiser, and more aware of what truly mattered. In private, they began writing again, not scripts, but letters, a habit they once shared during their busiest years. Sometimes, words are easier to write than to say. Those letters became a bridge, helping them reconnect beyond the noise of the world. Friends say that their bond now feels deeper, more mature, rooted not in youthful passion, but in respect, gratitude, and quiet understanding. They've seen the best and worst of each other, walked through heartbreak, and still found a way to sit across from one another with love in their eyes. So when people ask if they're back together, maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe it's not about titles or labels anymore. Maybe it's about connection, the kind that doesn't need to be defined to be real. Because Freen and Becky's story isn't about a breakup or a comeback. It's about rediscovery, two hearts that once drifted apart, finding their way back in the simplest, most human way possible. And as they quietly rebuild their bond, the world watches, not with gossip or judgment, but with admiration. Because deep down, everyone understands what it means to lose someone important and how rare it is to get a second chance. So maybe, just maybe, this isn't the end of their story at all. Maybe it's the chapter where everything finally begins again. Softer, wiser, and stronger than before.